Okay,
But yeah, we're all set.
call the meeting order at 6:32, November 4th, select board meeting. Review agenda for additional removal or adjustment to items per 1 BSA 312D3A. Anything to remove or add on?
No, but I'm realizing right now that I have not seen the payable warrants. Do you know if there's a warrant tonight?
No, because of the election, Sharon was not able to get.
Okay, all right.
Provided.
So I guess that's obviously off the agenda then.
We're not paying money this week.
So the next one will be.
Number 8, we'll just, is there any liquor or tobacco? Nothing?
Not to my knowledge, but I did
Okay,
check.
so we'll just remove number 8.
Is that what you're still confirmed?
Correct.
Well, you can leave it there and
We just won't have anything.
won't have anything to act on.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's a removal one.
Well,
I guess.
And there are no
if
minutes
not removed,
tonight.
we
There's
just
no
don't
minutes.
Yeah. We just-
No minutes and no warrant.
Okay.
Just rocking through this.
Okay.
People will be home by 9:30.
Overview of Zoom meeting operations and procedure, rules for participation, mute your microphone and recognized by the
Well, you might
chair.
want to mention.
They're
And I'm
already the
gonna-
new.
Yeah.
yeah,
and I-
I'm going
yeah,
to-
they-
And I'm gonna let Ian speak to all of you in Zoom land out there. We had a little person come on 2 weeks ago or last week.
Last week.
yeah.
Last week, they jumped in and we didn't know it, so.
We knew it.
Oh,
We knew it.
yeah.
It was loud and verbal and
So you-
visual.
Usually the meeting's pretty open, and what we've done this week, just in case, is that if you want to speak, you will not be able to unmute yourself. You need to raise your hand. And hopefully when it's a person who we know is connected with a particular agenda item, I'll unmute you. But we're gonna leave people's cameras off and then muted for now, but you'll be able to hear us and see us. And hopefully that'll be okay.
So we won't get hacked again,
Right.
or potentially hacked.
Yes.
Mhm.
Public forum, 5 minutes per person to speak on something that's not on the agenda. You guys are here for an
Is
agenda.
anybody on the?
Anybody
Zoom
on Zoom that wants to speak to public forum?
Yeah, use the raise your hand feature.
Use your raise
Or
your hand
react
feature.
feature.
Okay,
See anyone? Okay.
let's see, department head roundtable. Chris, you can go?
Sure. Clerk wise, it's been crazy this week. Tomorrow's the big day, the big election. Treasurer standpoint, we met with Nemrick Friday, went through all the list of accounts, slogged through that.
They met for hours.
You know, it was about 3 hours.
Yeah.
Made some really strong headway. Darlene's hoping for your next meeting, we will have a list of funds that the accounts that can be, we'll ask to have funds moved either in or out of to zero them out and close them out.
Oh, yeah.
They haven't had activity in 3 to 5 years.
Mhm.
And if we close them out, it's not the end of the world. If we ever have to reopen them, we create another one. It's not that big. So, the tax bills, we're up to about 50 people signing up for the direct debit.
Oh, good.
I've had, people paying with credit cards online. We've now had zoning added to it, police fines, water like usual, but yeah,
Yeah,
we're
so
seeing more
people are
and more
using it.
activity.
Great.
And taxes are due the 15th, right?
Yeah, water bills went out, all the water letters, had a handful of phone calls and emails on them. No real pushback, just people wanted clarity and once they got it, they're like, oh, okay, what's up?
Okay.
There was no negative feedback whatsoever
Good.
so far.
That's good. That's great.
We like to hear that.
Yes, that's very good.
It's been a
So
positive.
far.
Don't jinx it.
Yeah,
Come on.
take it as it
Well,
goes.
When
No, I
they,
know.
when they get
It's been a week.
the changed bill next time around,
That's
there'll
true.
be some,
Yeah,
there'll probably be more questions.
yeah,
It's all good.
Okay,
that's great.
Meredith, you would like to speak? And Meredith, on behalf of the board, I wanna say I'm very sorry to hear about your mom. But she, as you know, when it's that time, it's probably a better place if she suffered and no suffering anymore. You have my condolences.
Thank you.
The board's
I appreciate everybody's kind words of condolence and the nice card that I got from my fellow coworkers. Yeah, it's been tough, but with the support of the community and my family, it's going as best as can be. But for a couple things with the Bristol Rec Department, Aiden is a fantastic addition to our team. And to the town, we've checked off a lot of things on the list that I just wouldn't be able to get to. And so it's just been a great thing to have Aiden on board. And then all the holiday events are up on our website and on social media. So memory tree, candy cane hunt, trolley rides, story time with Santa, and then just connecting with Bristol Core and all their events. So December is looking like a really fun time to be in Bristol. And then Bristol Youth Sports, it's basketball time, so we're really excited about that. We haven't gotten all the registrations in yet, but we will be hosting an open gameplay for Thursday, 5 to 7 at BES. And that's when we'll probably complete all our registrations. So lots of things happening for the Bristol Rec.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Meredith, again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Jill, you want to give us some water updates?
I'm gonna make it super brief. I have an 8-month-old helper today. So the water tap on North Street went well last Monday. They put in that nice new service with the curb on the same side as the house. So that went well. I sent the details over to Sharon and Chris and Valerie today for those hours. We are required under the service line inventory to send a letter to each of the connections that has a known galvanized line. And that has to be done by November 15th. A new rule that they put into the lead and copper rule under the service line inventory. So I'll work on getting that information over to Sharon and the crew so they can determine how they want to go about getting those letters out to the persons.
How many are there?
60, actually, no, that's the non-responses. I need to recount.
What's the purpose of the letter?
To let them know that they have a galvanized line, which they filled it out, so they already know, but it's for the state to require us to do more things.
Does that mean we have to tell them you have a galvanized line and therefore you have to replace it when we do the water lines, or?
No, that they should replace it. So under our replacement plan, we've stated that the replacement would be done if and when there was the financial capability. Meaning there might be some households that never have the financial capability. There might be certain grants that come up over the years where we're able to pair funding with the homeowner side and actually work through that and maybe not have to do an entire construction project with easements and historical and archaeological and all the other stuff that comes with a full construction project, but it's not the way it is right now. Right now, if you put it into the construction project, all the elements of the larger funding come into play. So it's just to inform them that the service line inventory is at the status that it's at, and if they have a galvanized or a lead line, that it would require replacement at some point. Under the current rule, it doesn't require replacement immediately.
Okay.
So the ones that you know are galvanized are the ones that filled out the form. You said a couple of weeks ago, there's 80 odd people that didn't, none responsive.
She got 60, she said.
Yeah, we're down to like 66 or 67, and I actually got 3 since then, so we're down to like 63-ish.
So out of those 63, some of them could be galvanized too.
That is very true. So I have to go through kind of the rules of the letter, but it's more mailings, it's more stuff, and then a certification that we sent them out.
Okay. All right, anything else for us?
Not at the moment. Thank you.
Super,
Okay.
thank you.
Thanks.
Anybody else on there? Brett? Garrett?
Yeah, Brett won't be able to be here tonight, and
Bruce?
Eric will not be here tonight.
I don't see Bruce up there either.
Nope.
so-
No.
Okay. Regular business, consider adoption of an ARPA allocation resolution, update and guidance on final allocations from the Assistant Treasurer, Chris Pearley. Chris, you're up.
Hopefully folks had a chance to review the draft resolution and perhaps revisit some of the background information from the previous meeting, but Chris can update us.
Yeah. So going through,
Want to put the draft resolution?
okay. We're gonna, this resolution was put together by, Katie, with VLCT. The orange, the highlighted yellow sections are the ones that we needed to customize. She had put the number in for our allocation amount, which is different than you all have been working with, and I'm not certain why. So this is the number we look at the federal reporting site, the 1,148,473.80. That's what's on the Fed site. I will, and I just saw your email this afternoon. I will confirm that that's what was which number was deposited in our account.
Because that's different from the numbers that we've been working with since the original allocation. And, all the previous resolutions that we adopted or
This is
drafted,
what we think we have more.
they're saying we have more,
Yeah,
but
not a lot.
maybe
We'll
it's
take it.
Yeah,
interesting. I don't know.
yeah.
Well, we'll do anything with it except give it away.
Wait, so who's the highlighted yellow? Who's giving us that number?
That came from our SLRF compliance report from the Treasury.
Okay,
So that's their number.
okay, but we have a lower number.
We have a higher-
Slightly lower, yeah.
Oh, I thought you said higher.
No,
ours
what
is
the
lower.
Fed is telling us we have more money
Oh,
than what
they
we
need to
think we
send
have.
us.
Right, if I mean,
Yeah.
we can confirm that what we actually received, right?
Right, that's
So-
a call to the bank tomorrow. Well, not tomorrow, later in the week. Tomorrow,
Yeah.
there will not be a bank.
Come on,
Okay,
you should have a spare minute.
Yeah,
yeah, that's interesting. All right.
so
Mm.
All right.
back to, as we discussed, the changing that piece, that is,
Where the,
I threw in the other whereas from one of our earlier,
Yeah, because we had already
just
made
to
that.
memorialize the fact that the
We
select board
already did
actually
this.
did do that action. I wanted it to be acknowledged. It wasn't included in the earlier.
Right, and
VLCT.
the standard allowance, we took that, but that doesn't mean that it's obligated,
correct.
which is why you're bringing this
to
to us
be
now.
obligated to.
Apart from the ones that we've actually paid out and it's gone to outside organizations, everything else that's internal needs to be obligated in some way.
What, basically, whatever we haven't
This first.
spent.
Right.
I mean, that's the shortest way to put it. What we have for remaining balance of unspent monies. And when we say spent, it's everything from the allocations we made to the organizations at the beginning. You've got Frida's position, the support pieces for her as far as equipment and tech support, and you've got also monies to Du Bois and King for the
accessible part.
accessible park projects. And you also made a later contribution to elderly services that I didn't see a resolution to, but I assume that was in a meeting somewhere.
Yeah.
Also not listed in there was the monies for the farmers market.
Correct.
So, long and short of it, the verbiage here is what Katie really wanted us to utilize, something in this sheet that had X's where the dollar amounts are. I believe, but this is the remaining balance that you have to figure out. What will happen is you make this resolution. That money then moves from our ARPA fund account into our general account. At that point, you are now officially able to do as you please with it.
Okay.
It's treated just as any other undesignated fund.
We don't have
Fund
to,
balance.
once we do this motion and the money comes back in, we then have an undefined,
Yep, undesignated fund.
unassigned funds.
Mhm.
We don't have to do resolutions, so to speak, for purposes of ARPA. I mean, we may.
No.
It's no longer up in my.
Right.
A matter of fact, it's very clear that anytime you refer to this money,
You don't
any type
refer
of
it to
formal motion, ARPA or FRF money
Right.
is not a designation. This is your
Right.
undesignated
It's money
funds.
for a
Mhm.
project.
Right.
If you do want to allocate it to things like you had said you wanted to allocate monies to the skate park.
Hmm.
100 and something to the skate park,
That's
140,000.
great.
That would be a reserve fund that would need to be created
Mhm.
and
Oh, yeah.
to photo.
Okay,
On the reserve funds, by the way, that's part of what happened Friday. We are going to go through all the ballots forever and figure out what you have actually, what has been authorized as true reserve funds
By voters.
by voters, because we,
yeah,
as a town, anytime we get a new funding source, we just create a fund for it.
right,
And there was no real designation, was it a reserve fund? There's a few of them that are called reserve funds. We
Right.
know those really clear. Don't know what they are, so we're gonna take that on, so at the next meeting, we'll have a very clear understanding of that. So from there, if you needed to, you'd start putting together what you wanted to create for reserve funds, bring them to the voters at town meeting and get approval on them, and then that monies could be set there.
Did I hear you to say, I might have been distracted, like for the skate park? The existing reserve fund for the rec department and facilities can be used.
Could be utilized, any
Okay.
existing
Okay.
true reserve fund could be utilized if that's where it makes sense to place the capital.
Okay, good.
I placed the dates, through the end of this year. I reached out to Katie. That is fine, because we're making the allocation. To put in perspective, current payroll to date, from July 1 to today is 569,128.43.
perfect.
5,000 of that actually has been pulled out of that because that was money we used for ARPA to pay Frida. So tomorrow when I run payroll, we will far exceed this number.
Okay.
So there's no
concern.
no concern whatsoever.
Okay.
I mean, like I said, these are numbers.
That
that
we're
we're-
gonna have to pay money back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the questions that you had previously about having to, reporting on monies that we gave out to other organizations. Once that check is cut, they're not a recipient, if it was a sub-recipient, there would be reporting, but it's a
Something else.
gifting, it's basically a gift.
Okay,
And there is no reporting required.
and the reporting here is that essentially our report is that we're taking this money and it's gonna be municipal workforce retention for payroll.
Yeah.
And that's our report, but then what we do with the
Funds out.
Payroll.
unassigned funds.
What we do with the payroll. that we do.
Right, well, that's the payroll, so that's the reporting side of it in terms of for ARPA. But then this amount really is that we'll have unassigned funds
Unassigned funds.
that sort of get moved around, yeah, okay,
Yeah, and that's why doing it this way, and then any requests that come in for additional capital within the last month, do it with that money as unassigned funds and not, let's not muddy up this. This is an easy,
Yeah.
very clean and clear, one-shot resolution. And then we go on and start using that money as business.
And we just need to keep that number separate for when we
right.
dole out money, so that when it's
Correct.
gone, we're
Because we
not.
want
And accounting purposes for.
Right.
accounting
Well,
purposes,
yeah, and we
need to-
don't wanna end up spending 600,000 for.
No, and what we can do is, again, I'll confirm this, but we'll create a GL account,
General ledger.
general ledger account, sorry, that would hold this balance.
Okay,
And as we pull monies out of
Right.
it, that way there's at any given moment, you'd be like, how much of the
Yeah.
unreserved balance is left? And it'd be,
yeah, that becomes our internal ARPA.
I believe, yeah.
Okay,
So I believe that's what we can do,
okay,
balance that around. The other pieces, I've sent all of this off to the auditors,
Yeah.
for their definite blessing. Have heard zero, but they're here in 2 weeks.
Right.
You all could wait until after the auditors for your next meeting to actually do this. That way we have their blessing as well. And then it's a sort of all the i's are dotted and t's are crossed
Yeah.
across the board.
We can make the motion and just say pending our auditors.
yeah,
approval.
I feel comfortable doing that.
Mhm.
And just to add a little to this, a question I have too is whether, I'm aware that some other places have applied this retroactively. And, for example, to last year's payroll from July
Hmm.
2023 through June of 2024. So the FY 24 fiscal year. And in our case, those books are still open. So that is a possibility. And in some respects, it might be cleaner to do that as actual workforce retention that these monies were applied for,
Right,
or
but-
applied to.
So I was thinking about the two, is that then we end up with a $550,000 undesignated funds from last year.
Yeah,
So.
which roll over from year to year, you know, they accumulate every
Yeah,
year.
so
Yeah.
it's either way you please, I mean,
I mean, we know that it can be used for this regardless of the date, I think. And if we're absolutely certain of that, and these are dates, this is what the LCT has suggested to us, then I'm fine with that. And then it's cleaner because it's in this tax year.
I think, well, I don't think it's cleaner. To me, it says right there, it gives you dates and municipal workforce. I'd like it to say, for the purpose of municipal future projects as deemed
You
necessary.
can't,
No, no,
It
no.
has to be spent.
it has to be
Okay,
spent
put
by
it
the end of this
some-
month, by the end of December.
Or
I just don't
entirely.
want-
It
I
has to
hate
be
the word.
spent,
I
or
hate
we
the
have
word.
to give it back. So if you do what you're saying,
And
and
we're
any
obligated.
money
I thought when Valerie, go back to your March 2022,
Yeah,
said if we,
we all thought that.
but now they're
You were
telling
they
me,
changed the rules.
Yeah.
they changed the rules, they weren't clear at the time, the feds came out with their final ruling on obligations in,
we want to take this and break this up, sorry, Kristen.
no,
And say, we're gonna do this 1/3 capital roads, 1/3 capital buildings.
We can do
and
that
no.
afterwards.
We can do that afterwards.
Yeah.
But it says right there, we gotta take municipal for payroll retention.
Yeah,
for
no, but
employees.
that's what we're doing, we're applying it to that. And then
You're-
once it's
you-
in
yes,
there,
You're reimbursing yourself
Yeah.
$565,000 worth of payroll that we've already paid out for the year.
Or we'll.
We haven't paid it out yet.
Yes.
we paid,
This is
yeah,
money we've already paid out.
from
So
July
everybody,
1.
so wait a minute, when you say payroll,
Mhm.
you haven't paid the payroll yet for December, nobody's gonna pay.
No,
that.
but we're
But you've already overspent your $565,000.
From July
As-
1 to now, we're
as of
over that
tomorrow.
number for
Yeah, as
payroll.
of tomorrow, you'll far exceed this number. You'll be at about $600,000 worth of payroll.
So we're taking taxpayers' money that we're collecting here until November 15th, or coming
Mhm.
due by November 15th. And we're already over on payroll.
No,
No,
I don't understand.
all
it.
we're doing,
If I'm
Joel,
just-
all we're doing is taking the money that we've already spent for payroll. We're applying this money to it, and then we're taking that money. It's a shell game.
It's a shell game. So the money that we've paid.
That
out payroll-
$565,000 is still gonna be there. It's just not gonna be called ARPA funds anymore.
No.
Then we can spend it for what we intended to.
then it's called
Or-
unassigned funds.
Yeah.
Or surplus.
Yeah.
Right,
Or surplus.
essentially, Joel, you could put the date down as November 4th, 2024, and it would still, that amount has already been spent. It just happens to be, we did it for that section of.
Yeah, it just gives us, in case there was
Yeah.
any one of these.
Any error.
If there's any error in the reporting that all of a sudden somebody said, no, it gives us it gives you a buffer. That's
Yeah.
why I wanted to.
Yeah, and internally, that 565 is still there for the projects that we've deemed it for. And we want to be very certain that that money doesn't start to be used for other things other than what the ARPA,
Well, that's
committee has
what
recommended.
bothers me. I don't know, you know.
that might happen, you mean?
That's
So-
what bothers
Well,
me.
what we're doing is, I mean, part of it is just us making the decisions about where that money is going.
Right.
And so once we know that this goes through, we put the skate park money in the rec department reserve fund. And so now that 565 goes down to 400 and something, or 300 and something. And so that amount's gonna get smaller and smaller. And so eventually, probably by the end of the year, we might be at about 100,000.
Yeah, this 415 is what you'll drop into the state.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a committee that did a lot of work,
Yeah, we're not taking any of that away.
and I know you aren't, but it doesn't, to me, it doesn't.
So on the books right now.
You say it's a shell game, and sure is.
It is a shell game.
So Jolie, so I'll explain to
And I
you
don't like
how it's
that
gonna work.
term.
So
Yeah,
what'll
the
happen
taxpayers'
is
money.
currently right now we have $565,000
We
sitting,
haven't spent, yeah, ARPA funds.
that are sitting in a fund, in an account called ARPA. We paid out $565,000 in payroll. We're gonna take this ARPA money, we're gonna apply it to what we paid out in payroll. We're gonna then take the $565,000 we paid out in payroll and put it into an undesignated fund.
Yeah.
That's all that's happening. That money's moving from here to here.
It's just moving to a
I'd
different
like to
account.
wait,
And it's just not being called ARPA money anymore, because
You
it can't.
call them.
yeah,
call
I'd
them.
like to see what the auditors think. I agree.
I don't know what they're
So
gonna
just so
say.
you know, that a very similar resolution, slightly with a little more detail, Waitsfield just passed. These are standard resolutions that VLCT is.
Identical, pretty much.
Yeah, they have a tiny bit more detail, like they actually called out the account
Right,
numbers.
and that was recommended by their auditor.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you wanna wait, we can, because we
No,
have to
we're
do
still
this by the
waiting. We're making a
end of
mo-
December.
You
I
guys
was
have
gonna
made-
make a motion to approve it pending the
Auditors.
auditors, okay,
Blessing.
approval, blessing, whatever.
Okay. I'd second that.
Okay. Jessica, wait a minute,
Hold on.
Wait a
have you
minute.
got any
Wait a minute, I gotta go already.
let her, let you in? I thought she was unmuted.
I think she muted herself, just in case.
Jessica, what do you think?
I think it's a good idea. I do want us to try to keep it separate in our own minds at least.
Yeah.
But I approve of the resolution.
Yeah, I think it'll make things easier because we can now obligate those funds by moving it to reserve funds, especially for the rec department, which is a big chunk. And then that's gonna help us sort of see what we have left. There is gonna be a pot of that money left, not much, but projects that either cost less or couldn't have been done that were on the list.
So, question. We ask permission to put undesignated funds in reserve funds.
You're not obligated to.
We're not obligated to,
Mhm.
we can do with this money, we don't have to ask.
You never-
And then we'll continue to ask.
We never have.
It's been a courtesy.
Oh,
But-
we just do it, because usually it's a town meeting. we've
Yeah.
done that.
Yeah,
Okay,
as
so
a
I mean,
we're-
this,
okay.
but the rec department funds were already decided on
Yes.
Right.
on this one.
It's
So I
okay.
just,
Yeah,
I
no,
just
it's
wanna
good.
be, I just wanna be clear that if we do that way, we're doing something that we don't normally do.
Right, and we've usually done that as a courtesy because it's taxpayer money that wasn't spent the previous year or the previous 2 years. For this, I mean, it's still taxpayer money in the bigger
In the
picture.
bigger
kind of.
picture.
It's a different pocket.
It's not local
It's
taxpayers.
That's
not
right,
new
that's right.
taxpayer.
Yes, so it's a little bit different, but I think, in our meetings, we're very clear.
That
about where-
92 cents is mine. I paid
Yeah,
that in.
I mean, we've been very clear in our meetings where all that has been going, and this makes it, I think this makes it even clearer, and it's because of this December 31st deadline.
Mhm.
That we need to do this by December.
And the other piece, just again, for your sake, is we'll take the Valerie spreadsheet, we'll update it with actual hard numbers.
Yeah.
And I would recommend you all use that as sort of your guiding document of, here's what we have, and we can check in once a month, just make sure the funds actually, the balances actually
Okay.
check in. I'll give you a
Sounds
chance to stay on that.
Okay,
So regarding the motion and the fact that the resolution is draft, it still has to be tweaked a little bit. So a final version would need to be produced for signature. But the resolution would have today's date.
Mhm.
But just the final version would have updated
And figures,
numbers
correct
and,
numbers.
and if for some reason the auditors advise that it be retroactive, we'll
Yep.
reflect that as well. So what this vote is doing is marking the select board's intention
Mhm.
and action to approve this resolution just needs to be finalized with the final details.
Valerie, months ago, many months ago, maybe probably close to a year, you asked about probably, you have been hitting around and not even hinting, but saying, maybe we ought to just put it, because we got so many capital road projects.
I've
to
been
do.
quite blatant
You've
about
been
it.
quite, I was
There was no
trying to be,
hinting.
I was trying to be nice, okay, and put that in there. We can't do that?
So we can.
Yeah, you can.
That's all. I want.
We
At
can,
some
but we
point.
haven't, we've obligated
Some of it.
some of it elsewhere.
Some of that 565 has been spoken for, but not paid yet. Is that what you're
Correct.
saying to me?
Correct.
So if we put all that 565 into capital roads, we can't pull it out to do some of these ones that are on the list tonight, or?
Once it's in
other-
capital.
Or
have
roads.
the skate park
Who-
that we've already,
Especially roads.
All right.
You gotta be careful. Once it goes to roads, you can't take it out.
we
of
can't
roads.
take it
Right.
out.
And we don't want to, except for roads.
Any other questions or comments from the crowd or anybody else? Just creative bookkeeping here, it seems to me.
It's a Fed thing, and we're not the only town that is all of a sudden struggling with this. There's nationwide, there's thousands and thousands of towns that are in the same spot, that were led to believe one thing, and
I
No.
wonder how many of them are gonna end up giving money back.
a lot of them, unfortunately.
really? Yeah.
Because a lot of towns aren't prepared. And again, if you don't have, if you are,
Small town without the
Yeah.
personnel to be.
personnel or,
Mhm.
Catch it.
it could be a challenge, so.
Mhm.
Thanks, Chris.
Cool. Any more comments?
No, we need to vote.
Yeah, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of this resolution to move it to the, to the payroll retention from July 1 to December 31st.
Or as adjusted by, recommended by the
Or
auditor.
recommended by the auditors, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed? Nay,
One down.
abstain?
So yours
He's
was
a
a
nay.
negative?
I just don't understand it, and I'm not gonna vote. Okay? Thank you, Chris. Continued consideration of funding request for Peace Garden renovation, farmers market support, additional funds for Lyman's Lodge elevator. Okay,
In my report, I provided a brief summary of each of the requests, and I know that Cecil is under a timeline. So if the
So
select
we'll
board
bring
would
them up
mind,
live?
if we.
We'll move this agenda item to the end of the meeting.
is that a second thing on
You have
it?
another meeting tonight?
So if,
Yeah, I think we can do.
if we can hear Cecil's.
Yeah.
Peace Garden, yeah, so.
No, Phoebe's online.
Phoebe's
Phoebe's
on,
online.
yeah.
Phoebe, we're just gonna jump to this one. Okay, Lyman's Lodge is requesting $7,500 more from the 52,000 that they haven't spent yet, but they've been
Well,
promised.
the check has
They've
been.
been given to him.
Yeah.
Been given
They
to
got
them,
the
so that's
check.
not part of that 565.
Right.
So we're,
You're getting it.
I'm getting it. Unexpected complication with construction. So you want to explain a little more?
Sure. The original plan was to put it in on the northeast corner of the building
Mhm.
using a door that was pre-existing, and we were gonna drop it down to ground level and then go in. Well, the unfortunate thing is when the original building, which was built by the Congregational Church back in 1898, they did that stone foundation. When they folded and merged with the Methodist Church, became the Federated Church on the corner of Church North, the lodge bought it. And at that time, there had been no basement in the church building, so the boys dedicated Thursday night for 2 years to dig with pick and shovel, no mechanization whatsoever. And if you remember, most of the Hansons were involved at that time. Most of the Hansons are between 5'5" and 5'7". So when they got up to about 7 feet 3 inches, they said, high enough. But they dug out a hole, if you would, a basement, that's over 1,600 square feet by hand, pick and shovel. It's pretty impressive undertaking. And so they put a cinder block wall at the perimeter of this basement,
Inside of the stone wall.
inside 5.5 feet in from the stone wall. So none of us, myself included, when we originally designed the elevator shaft, we have on the northeast corner where that door is, it's 5 feet off the ground, what we call our guard room. And the elevator was gonna go in to the guard room and then either go up a half a floor to the lodge main floor or down a half a floor into the men's room and become, and access to the dining room for the seniors and whatnot. Well, that was all well and good. Myself, Avery initially, Jim Burt, everybody said it looks great. Well, then Avery went over this spring and was about to bust through the wall and then noticed that the inside wall foundation was 5 feet inside. So to come down and then go in would have easily added $30,000-$40,000 onto the cost of the building and conservative estimate. So we came up with the idea, we walked around the building 4 times, and then finally found the spot to the left of the front door, to the right of the big stained windows that look out onto Elm Street. We're gonna go in there and go up a half a flight and down a half a flight, if you would. But the problem is before we thought we had a shaft already, okay? And we weren't gonna have to build any walls around the elevator. We were just gonna make it plumb, but then the elevator would just go up and down inside these walls. But now, by going up into the lodge room, we don't wanna just have a hole in the floor that goes into the lodge room with a lift that comes up out of it. And then, somebody walks over and falls down the elevator shaft, falls down at the lower level. That's not a really good thing. So we're gonna have to construct walls up in the lodge room and then down in the basement to create this elevator shaft. We had electricity over at the other place. We don't have electricity here, so we have to end up running new circuits. So we got Avery's terminology here is, bear with me. Structural site work for new location, refeeding power to multiple circuits and framing new walls to enclose the elevator as we thought we had a room that was in the landing before. So that's pretty much where the $7,500 was gonna go. It's probably gonna be a little more than that. If I had my wits about me, I probably would ask for 10, but we'll survive on the 75. We'll have to just do another chicken biscuit dinner.
There you go.
There you go. So is this a true elevator or just a lift?
What
This
you
is
got?
like what we have
Like we
here.
have here. Okay,
Here,
because
the library,
I know what an
Catholic
elevator
church
costs.
is
It,
library.
52 and 7,500 ain't we gonna touch it.
No, an elevator like that, like what you're talking, a real elevator would probably be $1.75, $1.80.
Do you have to have those inspected every year?
Yes.
You do.
Yeah.
That's a cost.
I know you have to do a regular elevator, I wasn't
Yes,
sure
you
if you had
do.
to do the lifts too.
So, okay, you heard Clissell's description for the additional funds.
I guess I'd make a motion to approve the request and amend it to 10,000.
Second.
Thank you.
Great.
This
Is
just
there,
gives you a buffer.
Thank you.
You know there's gonna be more stuff that you discover.
Jessica, any thoughts, concerns?
She's gonna do the chat, she says. I don't think she has. She's gonna vote yes.
Okay. I got a motion, I didn't, Speaker
Speaker
second.
seconded.
Any more discussion? Are you hearing anything from the crowd or anything? No? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I do have a
Steve?
question though.
Oh, sorry.
No, I did. He went a little fast because I was still trying to
Oh,
come up with my
sorry.
question. So now that we moved the funds over,
It'll be. we'll
we
have to-
can't say ARPA funds now, right?
Right.
We're just saying
Fine.
we
We
allow
haven't
some of
moved
the
them yet.
funds.
We
Okay.
haven't
Right.
moved them yet.
That's right.
No, but that we already did that motion,
Yeah.
so,
Pending the.
We can't-
But he can change the numbers.
Right.
yeah, but we
change.
then have to do the resolution
Right.
that says we've allotted that funds
10
to
grand.
them.
10 grand.
We had to have, remember, we had to
Okay.
do that motion for every
Yeah.
single one that we did, so. As soon as the resolution's done, the money's changed, then yes, okay,
The 52 is already done.
right, 52's already done, yep.
I want to point out the time and that we had
Yeah.
at 7 o'clock as the public information meeting for the bonds.
So we're,
Okay.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so
gentlemen,
Thank you.
ladies.
Do you have a timeline in terms of Avery's?
Avery actually went over today and put blue tape down the floor in the
Okay.
lodge room and excuse me, we're gonna review it tonight and he's allegedly gonna bust through the wall tomorrow.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, or
Great.
actually gonna cut the floor out tomorrow and then
put
Watch
caution
your-
tape up.
That's
we
great.
got insurance for it.
Yeah,
Great. All
well,
right,
You
thanks,
know,
Leslie.
actually, since it is still ARPA money, that technically could cut the check tomorrow.
That's true.
Because
That's
of
what
the
I'm saying.
actual.
we still have to
Wednesday,
do,
not tomorrow.
Right,
Not tomorrow.
right, nothing's
but we
happening.
would
Said that
still,
tomorrow,
we would
nothing
still
tomorrow.
have to do
Sharon
that
likes me right now, I'll
resolution.
keep it that way.
That's
Yeah,
true.
so we'll figure it out, but yeah.
We would still have to do that
right,
resolution
thank you.
saying. we-
Thank you much, guys.
Certainly,
The
thanks,
the vote, I mean, obviously the resolution stuff doesn't matter now that they changed the rules again.
So we've got to jump to our special town meeting, public information meeting, proposed amendments to the Unified Development Regulations and a bond vote for the Bristol West Waterline Replacement Project.
And
Yeah.
information was posted on Front Porch Forum over the weekend, giving more background
Yeah, that
about
was
the,
good.
Mhm.
the water line project.
Yep.
And Steve is available online to answer any questions or anything else.
Okay. Any questions from like that? Raise your hands, okay, thank you. Any questions, any
You're gonna
questions?
Yeah,
unmute
you type
Steve.
really well, you're not moving, for sure.
Barely.
You're gonna unmute Steve so that if we need him, he's ready or.
Is that Steve?
That's Steve, that's the real Steve.
That really
Let's hope
Steve?
that's really Steve.
Hi, good evening, everybody.
Hi,
Nice,
Steve.
Steve.
Any question from the public on the bond? vote?
Yeah, we're
Or
gonna,
you
hang on a
want-
minute, Joel. We're gonna do the farmer's market and the
The Peace
Peace
Garden
Garden after the
after-
hearing.
Yes,
hearing.
we're gonna do
We have-
those two.
Yeah, we have the hearing scheduled for 7, and so we need to keep to that
We're a little
time.
over.
But this, I don't think the hearing will go that long, so probably another 10, 15 minutes, and then we'll go back to the ARPA.
Okay. Okay, I'm ready.
I don't see anybody with any
Or the
questions.
Anybody questions on the bond vote, the water project? I think Steve and Jill, through the last few months,
Mhm.
explained it pretty well. They're doing it in phases.
For folks that just joined online, you might want to repeat our control over the mic and the video and the reasoning. Folks
Yeah,
might
if
not
you just-
realize they can't unmute themselves.
If you just joined us on Zoom, you can unmute yourself. We got hacked last week at our meeting. It was pretty embarrassing, to say the least. And so Ian is running the control board with IT assistance from Peter and I. And so raise your hand to speak and he'll unmute you if we recognize you. If it comes up with somebody from outside the immediate
From
United States,
China.
we may hold up a minute.
Right.
So,
Yeah, you can use in the bottom of the menu bar, you've got react, and you can raise hand.
Yeah.
If you do have questions about the
Okay.
2 items.
okay. Anything on the unified, the board has been over, this is the second public hearing on the unified development information meeting for those regulations. There's a number of changes in those. If anybody has any comments on those. I know Joe must have been in on those because he sits on the planning commission. Those are the water resolution, the water meeting. Again, the water bond has to be voted on by the entire town, but it's only paid for, it's not coming out of your taxes. The water bond is paid over a 30 or 40-year bond and paid for by the water users of the former village water district, which now expand. But if you're a water user, your rates will increase with this bond a little bit.
And one point I tried to make in our summary was that although the ratepayers will be seeing the debt showing up in the future budgets, hopefully with these repairs and improvements made to the system, we'll also be seeing benefits, reduced operating costs and a lot of other reductions in expenses that hopefully it won't completely offset the new debt, but it'll definitely improve the system.
Soften it.
Soften the blow, less electricity, maybe less pumping.
Yeah.
As our water operator will tell you, we, of all the water we pump a day, about 40% of it is in leaks. We wouldn't have to, if we had these leaks taken care of, new lines, we'd save about 40% of our pumping capacity. We hope.
Wear and tear on the
Wear and tear.
system, chemicals,
Everything.
electricity, all that
I
stuff.
got a question from
Yeah.
Clove.
Yes.
Are the changes in the redistricting from the maps that were presented 6 or 12 months ago?
No, that map is still the same. The map hasn't changed.
Okay. Clove, I hope we heard that. Michelle said the map hasn't changed. Thank you, Michelle. Any other questions from the audience out here or the Zoom?
Any other changes from what was presented then?
The 6 to 12 months ago, the main thing that was
Right.
discussed was some regulations surrounding the accessory dwelling units, the ADUs.
Right.
There was sort of back and forth between planning commission and select board with regard to a couple of items with that, which are highlighted in the latest document.
Building height and side yard setback.
Correct.
Mhm.
And also, didn't it, we reduce the square foot
That was already there. That was already
from
changed.
12,000 down to 10,000?
Yeah.
That was already there?
Yeah, or whatever the square footage was. I don't remember what it was, but that was, we didn't mess with that.
No, it was
No.
1,000 square feet for the use.
No, I
Right.
thought lot size could go reduced.
Uh,
That was the
No,
last time?
No,
Not in this
Not
one?
for this, no.
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
it was the use of an ADU, and it went from 1,000 square feet, which is what it currently is in the regulations, and it was changed to 900. And that sort of matched state recommendations.
That's small.
Yeah,
tiny.
So
little.
setback and pipe burial, did you say the changes were? She asked here.
Back
This is
and
setback.
pipe burial.
Do you want to unmute her and just?
Oh, maybe, here.
Height.
Clove, I'll click so you can unmute and you can ask your question if you'd like.
Thanks.
Sure.
And you had said there were only 2 changes and then you brought up the square footage. So they went by quickly. Did you say the setback changed? And one other thing changed?
No,
The height of the building in regards to the.
ADU.
ADU, right?
Yeah,
Right.
right, there was back and forth discussion as it was initially the setbacks in HDR, high density residential, were 10 feet. We had discussions about changing them to match the principal building to 15, but we ended up reversing that decision. And so they actually stay as is. So right now in HDR, side yard and rear yard setback is 15 foot for the principal, and it's 10 feet for the accessory building. An accessory building can be a garage, can be an ADU or a shed or anything like that. There's 2 things at play. There's the actual building itself, and then there's the use of the building.
Mhm.
But so those didn't change. Those are staying as is. The biggest,
Staying as the planning commission changed them back.
right,
12 months
essentially
ago.
what they are
Right.
now, in the current approved regulations. And then the only other thing that changed, which was apart from the square footage of the accessory building, was the height. And that was 35 feet for the principal structure, and then 25 feet or 80% of the principal, whichever is higher, for the accessory. And so that the idea behind that was trying to reduce the size of an accessory building so as not to dwarf the principal building. That was some of the feedback that we received from folks, both planning commission and select board, that people were concerned about, especially in that area, that buildings might be bigger or the same size as the principal building. And so that was changed.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Any other questions from anybody out on the Zoom? See anybody here? Okay. Alrighty. Any questions on the water bond proposal? Long time coming. Any improvements? Okay.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, Steve.
Steve,
Good night, Jill.
night, Joe. I will close the special town meeting public information for the Unified Development Regulations and the water bond. And go back to number 2, consider funding request for, we'll do the Peace Garden next for renovations to the Peace Garden. They were in a few weeks or months ago, or a month or 2, no, week and a half
A
ago.
couple weeks ago.
Couple weeks, yeah. They all run together now, so.
Phoebe, how much was the original request? Or how much was it originally gonna cost? I can't remember.
Well, we in the letter to the town, we said 17,000, and then we increased it to 20,000. That Silas thought that was more of a reasonable estimate, and all of this, of course, is an estimate.
Mhm.
And then when you left, you were telling us that you were going to the
Right,
Women
to the
Boston
100
County organization, and you reported back that you got just under $2,500 from them.
Right.
And
We did.
We upped it to $10,000.
That was their updated
Right.
request, yeah.
Yes. That's where we stand now, people. It's your pleasure.
I assume the rest of the funds you're gonna be fundraising for, right?
Yep, we've gotten some donations, some from a couple of businesses, larger donations of $1,000. 100 from the 100 women, and $2,000 from 2 different businesses. And we have $1,000 from other donations we've received during the fall. We've received individual, quite generous donations. You know, the donations from individuals has run anything from $10 to $200, and that's been quite wonderful. So we currently have 4,500, we have about $5,000 now. And
Including
we
the
have
2,500 from the women, is that included in
from
that?
the 100 women, yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So that's what we have now, and we also have a couple of grants that we can pursue also.
Okay.
Okay.
And you were looking at using white oak?
Yes,
White oak
Top of the food chain for timbers, absolutely.
for, outside for,
Peace garden.
Unless you're gonna do pressure
Yes.
treated or something,
No.
well, what else? Best there is.
we really don't want to use pressure treated lumber.
oh, we're just, asking Ken Johnson, cause he's sitting here, so.
Oh,
He's familiar
okay,
with
hi,
wood.
Ken. So we've, so Silas Clark, who's gonna do the work, has consulted with a couple of people who work with timbers all the time. Will Wallace-Gusakoff is one of them. And so we had 3 estimates for what the lumber would cost. And we decided that we wanted to go with white oak in consultation with Silas and the people that Silas has spoken with. And I think he's also spoken with Clifford Lumber. Ken, I don't know whether he spoke with you or not. I mean, you're not active right now, so I'm not sure.
He's very active, just not in that
I don't
realm.
mean-
Yeah.
I didn't mean that. I meant in the
But Ken
timber
Ken
business.
supports white oak, so that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Because that's the most
Okay.
sustainable, but it's also the most expensive.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve the $10,000 appropriation to the Peace Park.
Second.
There's a motion and a second towards the $10,000 towards the Peace Garden. The Peace Garden at Peace Park, right?
It says
Phoebe?
Peace Park
I
right there.
get that
Sorry.
what it is.
My
But it's the
bad.
Peace Garden, right? Phoebe?
Whoops,
Yeah. Peace
Yes,
garden.
it's the Peace Garden, yes.
Okay.
my bad.
Um,
It's
That's
still.
it.
Any more questions?
You're done in 2 months.
Anything else? More questions?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, $10,000 for the Peace Garden, please say aye.
Aye.
Jessica's a
Opposed?
yes.
Jessica, you're a yes?
Yes, she is.
All right, all right.
Thank you.
Opposed?
Okay.
Abstain? Okay, you have it.
All right,
Okay.
there you go, Phoebe.
Thank you so much.
Maybe-
I do have a couple of questions.
Yeah.
When I was there the last time, you talked about how we would have to either have to use the money by the end of the year or have an actual contract. So we won't
No.
use the money by the end of the year, but we can put together a contract, but we need some guidance in terms of what needs to be included in that. So who would I speak to about that? Would I speak to Valerie about that? Who would I speak to about creating?
We
a
should make
contract?
Phoebe sweat.
Yeah.
No, so with previous discussions that we've had tonight, that those rules will no longer apply.
Oh,
So you
thank
won't have to worry about that.
We resolved that issue.
We
Yeah.
Oh,
resolved that.
good. Oh, thank you. And then the other
Okay.
question is.
Okay, that wasn't making her sweat very hard.
Come on.
Well, you
You wanna,
can't,
you wanna get out of here by 9? Come on.
but you can't see me. You can't see that I was sweating on
It's
that.
true. What was
Your
your
last question?
What was your second question?
My second question is, Ian, you had spoken about perhaps with the park project that's gonna happen around having a water fountain closer to the playground, that maybe a line, and my understanding from that last meeting was that that's part of previously designated funds. And that some kind of a water line could be included in that for the waterers for the Peace Garden. Did I get that right the last time?
That was a suggestion, and I think it will probably tie in to a future project with the water line replacement.
Possibly.
Okay, so I think it's cleaner to not have it tie in with this
Yeah.
particular request, and that the town, if we're able to, work on that, we will. I think it's a good
Okay.
idea. I think we have support, especially from the rec department, to get water in the form of a water fountain or a water filling station, similar to over at the rec field. And so I think that would tie in with that versus tying in with your project.
Okay, all right. So what would it be fair for me to say to the Peace Garden Committee in terms of that? Is it just better that I don't say anything at this point, or just say that that's under consideration as part of a town project?
I would use that language, under consideration as part of a
Okay.
town project.
Okay, good. I
Okay.
can do that. Well, I really appreciate your time. The whole Peace Garden Committee appreciates the designation of this money, and thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Thanks, baby.
Okay, thanks, Phoebe. Okay, now we have the farmer's market support for ARPA funding.
And hopefully folks had a chance to look at the report that Sarah developed.
Mhm.
Sarah is the farmer's market manager, and she outlined the successes of this past year's farmer's market, which were quite remarkable.
Hi, Sarah.
Wait, so,
Hi, friends.
Do you
Can
wanna-
you hear me?
yep,
Can you?
I'm joining from Washington State in a hotel room, so it may be funny with audio. Yeah, but if it's useful, I can do a quick little summary of our wins, you know, of the my report basically that I made. There's one
And
thing that I
Ian's going-
forgot.
Ian's going to try
Bring
to
it
put
up.
it up on the screen.
There we go.
Oh, great. Perfect. Yeah. So in a nutshell, 51 small businesses applied, 10 farmers. I cannot remember how many farmers were there last season. I remember that I was next to one farmer regularly as a vendor, but 10 applied this year and were part of the market regularly. We did have 8 prepared food vendors. 2 of them were immigrant families that really got a leg up with their, you know, just business incubation. 15 local artisans. 2 of them were teenagers that were from Bristol who made some really cool art that sold things for their first time and felt really proud. I did make a mistake. All Earth Renewables is not a nonprofit, but we did welcome quite a few. We don't make them pay when they come to market. So when they're a beneficial community organization, I think that's a great thing to welcome. 14 different musical acts who are really high caliber. That is something I'm really proud of at this market. And one small AV company that we rent our gear from. Taylor could speak to our teen volunteers, but long story short, we had some really cool volunteers that helped us set up and break down market every week. And they felt really important. They were crucial to the operation, and they each got per hour $10 in tokens that they could use to buy, you know, dinner or whatever they needed. And there was one who was a little bit underprivileged, and we made sure to buy her dinner every night that she was there to help. And just one thing I forgot to include in my summary was that we had 3 successful nutritional programs that we ran. One of them would be, we instituted the EBT food stamps. That went great. Then we also ran Crop Cash, which is the state extension, like matching of those EBT benefits. And then the third is a farm to family that's run by WIC. So all 3 of those went really well. And WIC did a distribution event at market, which is really special for some of the people who receive those benefits because they have to get all the way to an office otherwise. So in a nutshell, long story short, I feel like the market was a great success this season.
okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay.
Is there anything that any other piece of information that could be useful to the select board?
No.
I don't think so.
Nope.
That was very detailed. Thank you.
All right.
Excellent.
So what the issue is
Thank you
for
all.
tonight is that the select board at previous meeting had earmarked $20,000 with the intention of spreading it over 2 years. And so that's the question tonight, is what to do with that, or how to follow up with that intention. given the new parameters that we have to work with.
Right, I was just.
So
gonna say-
if it's moved to where we have it now, we would
We
still
can just
be
give
able to
the
meet that
10,000
obligation.
each year,
Correct.
yeah.
10,000 this
Just
year,
have to allocate
10,000
it in that,
25 and
right?
10,000 26.
Mhm.
Which I think would be fine. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just,
Right.
We just have to remember to do it
Yeah.
and keep that money earmarked.
Yeah,
the idea is that by taking
so if it's
advantage.
on the list,
Right, exactly. And the idea is taking advantage of that money just allows you to start the market. And then hopefully by the end of 2026, it becomes a sustainable.
Self-sufficient.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So what's your?
I don't know that we
think-
need to do anything.
need
We've
to do
already,
anything, I
we've
don't
already
so your money,
allocated.
I don't know if you were on earlier when we made a decision what to do with the rest of the ARPA money, but that money is safe now. And
Right.
we can fulfill our obligations with where we have it.
Sounds great to me.
Well, I'd make a motion to, I would just say,
Pay it out the 1st of January of 25 and another 10,000, another 10,000, the 1st of January 26.
when
So
is
it's
it
clean.
we
it's
were-
usually at the
Or
end
the-
of the year, right? Is that when most appropriations?
November.
In November?
Yeah.
So I would say, yeah, for the 2025 season,
Yeah, go ahead.
Now,
right now, right, do 10,000 for 2025 and then do 10,000 November of next year for 2026.
And we did do the first 10,
Correct.
We already did.
24 or 23, we did it. It's trying to, we didn't do
Correct.
two of, I don't want to do two of them. do
No,
24.
the
No.
first was $1,000, I think, which supported a grant when the market first started. And then there was 10,000 that was used for this year, and then,
But it was paid in 23,
Correct.
late 23.
Yeah.
That's all I'm just trying to ask.
correct.
Okay, so there's a motion. Is there a second to Ian's motion?
Second.
Okay, any more discussion out there, Zoom land or here? Hearing none, although, Jessica, you fine with that?
Yeah, she's a vote, yes.
Okay. All those in favor of paying 10,000 this November of 24 and for the 25 season and another 10,000 in November of 25 for the 26 season, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Stay, okay.
So
Right.
Val, I want to ask you, the 50,000 for the library, is that already?
That's done.
That's already done,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay,
Great, thank you, Sarah.
thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Courtney.
Sarah.
And Courtney.
Thank you,
Courtney.
Courtney.
She's on the floor.
Oh, okay. Consider request number 4 in agenda. Consider request by Brendan Coyle to name a driveway access off of Sunwood Lane to as a Sweetness Lane.
Want to call a picture up?
We're gonna bring the picture up first. If you, I think everybody knows where Sunwood Lane is. It's that.
That's where my road, my driveway.
And David's road up to his house going, that's an old road that been improved. Used to lead to the pond, the old Bristol Pond.
Much simpler solution than your discussion about money.
Yeah.
So just to add some context for this agenda item,
Can you pull it up just a moment?
You make a picture.
Oh, bigger, sorry.
a zoning permit was issued to construct a house on that far lot. And the owner of the lot has requested,
He's on.
yeah, he's on the lot, on the line, to name that access Sweetness Lane. And we've had, this has been in the works for some time. There are a lot of unusual elements to this situation, including just the shape of Sunwood Lane, where you can see how that it takes a sharp turn to the south. And from an emergency response perspective, the recommendation had been made that that extension to the north have a separate name, so that in the event of an emergency, the emergency responders would have a clear sense of where to go. So that's partly how this evolved. Sunwood Lane is a private road. And so this is a new experience for the town to be considering or being asked to consider a new private road off of a private road. So there is that. And then there are some
Other
disputes, I suppose is the right word, among the parties, among some of the parties about rights of access. And ordinarily those kinds of things, that's a civil situation that the town would not be involved in those kinds of discussions. The town's primary purpose with this agenda item is the naming of roads and the issuance of E911 addresses once the road is named. And AZ is our E911 coordinator who, once a road is named, then calculates the distance of the driveways and assigns the numbers based upon that. So the select board's role is only in whether to consider the naming of a road. The town has no active role in access issues otherwise. That's outside of our jurisdiction.
So given the
But
complexities of this, do we have, can we actually make that decision this evening? Do civil matters need to be figured out before the select board would make a decision on the naming of a
Well,
road?
that's a question. And that was one of the reasons why it's taken a while to get to the select board's agenda. Because the zoning permit has been issued and it's our understanding that a house is in the process of being constructed, it needs an E911 address. So something needs to happen. And an alternative to naming this road is that it becomes just a long driveway off of Sunwood Lane. And first responders will just need to know that they have to swing to the left instead of to the right to get to it. So that's an option.
so I guess I have a couple questions. And
Can I
this is-
offer,
Hold on.
Wait a second here.
I'm gonna.
This, and this may be outside of our purview, so to speak, but, I mean, I know when you subdivide something in the town of Bristol, there has to be a deeded right of way when you do a subdivision. So is there a deeded right of way for this lot? Or I saw an email about him having a deeded right of way off Hazel Drive. If his deeded right of way is really off Hazel Drive, then the E911 has to come from Hazel Drive, not from Sunwood if he does not have a deeded. So that's,
There are a lot of different sources
Right.
of information about deeded rights.
So-
and surveys and deeds
I
and
mean,
easements and.
my personal opinion is we can't name this road. I mean, first of all, and my understanding in what we've done with 911 is that a road doesn't get named unless it has more than at least 3 houses on it, whether it's private or not. And this is just one house.
I passed
Yeah,
around
I
some
saw that.
information this afternoon prior to the meeting, an excerpt from the E911 naming standards. And although that is advised, they also allow for naming of a road with just 1 or 2 houses or dwellings or property owners, if there's a chance that this might be future development down the road. No pun
Before
intended.
I ask David, just to, hold on, I just have a question. Who's the middle lot?
mine?
This here,
Oh, that's
That's,
yours.
that's
that's
yours. Okay.
Chris's.
Is there a house on that or no?
No.
Not yet.
Okay, and then, so this is where the Sweetness Lane.
Well, the Sweetness Lane would go right from the end of Sunwood.
Right here,
Up
and
through,
it's-
yeah.
Hazel Drive ends right here.
No, it
Yeah,
ends
it's over
down
there.
at Stevens,
It's up at here.
all the way down.
Oh, yeah, but it, from here.
But from there,
Sun-
it's Sunwood. From
Sunwood
that
Lane
intersection,
from
it's
here.
Sunwood,
At
yes.
that intersection, okay, I just wanna be clear, and then the A. Johnson Company is all this, or north of these, or both. Am I?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Both,
Correct.
okay, okay, just for everybody.
North and east, yeah, Coffins is to the left.
Can I add a little tiny question?
Okay, now, David, yeah, I'll make some.
There is a deeded right of way, and it's in Mr. Coyle's deed. It's as clear as, I have a copy of it.
Mhm.
And it is, as she suggested, on Hazel Drive. And he has used that. We know he's used it because he had an excavator up there doing test holes. And they didn't, and our road is not really passable. Well, it's not even a road. And it goes through her property. There's 2 separate pieces of land. All the research Williamson's did when we bought from Hazel what turned out to be Williamson's and paid taxes on it for 30 years until Williamson's hired Spencer Harris Senior to research it. And he went back 150 years, no right of ways, but the right of way is very clear with Mr. Coyle's land. What those Blazes and Johnsons through their properties. It's very, I have a copy of it here if you want to see it.
Whose is the property between Chris, yours, and all the land on Hazel?
That's Tyler Hebert, used to be your.
It used to be Nancy's?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, oh, Nancy Pearl.
So technically the deed of right of way goes through Nancy's property.
No, it doesn't. No, it
No.
goes through Stevens. Through Peter's brothers.
Do you know approximately where?
Yep. I can
You want
point
to
out
just
on the
show,
map.
I mean, those on TV land won't be able to see this, but.
It's very, very clear. Try not to tip over on you. This is the beginning of it. It goes right up through the middle. And it comes
Your
out.
pencil is not in the right
Stevens'
spot.
house is at the end of that. And there's, I don't know how many houses are there, not 4 or 5. Along there.
You mean off the end of Hazel Drive?
Yeah.
Oh, so you're up to far. Yeah, Hazel Drive, and then it goes up.
That's how you get
The
to,
deeded right away
Yeah,
is
okay.
through Blaze's land
Mhm.
and Johnson, not through anything that was ever owned by Devino or.
So Johnson's
So let me
don't
just,
border.
Some laser
so
beams.
this is Hazel Drive, so you're saying it goes this way and up and around, or
Yep.
just this way and up?
Around me.
There's a
No.
road up through there,
Mhm.
that's the old snowmobile trail, and some loggers opened it up. And I guess that's where he's been using to get in there.
So does it go up through Nancy's old property and Chris's, or it goes on the outside?
North of
Outside,
it.
okay.
So it goes on,
And this is-
on Coffins?
Excuse me?
It goes on
Goes on
Coffins?
Coffins?
Probably.
yeah.
Well, I agree with Michelle. I think this needs to be figured out, and I think AZ needs to work through this.
Or they need to work through
They
it
need to
and
work
get a,
through
get
it.
a
Come-
deeded
come-
right away.
Right, come to AZ again, so they can do,
If the
the-
deeded right away
the-
in his deed says it's off Hazel Drive,
yeah,
we can't
No.
say, we can't name that.
yeah. I think this needs to come back to
Well,
us.
can I,
He'd have to get an
Hold on.
E9.
hold on, yeah, hold on, David, hold on.
You
My
can-
name is Robert Fields. I'm a forester for the Johnson Company. I've been there 16 years. My predecessor, Tom Yeager, was there for 50 years. And of course, Ken Weston had been there prior to Tom. And our use of that road and my knowledge of any use for the Coyle property, which was Tom Bear's lot prior, was always through what you guys are talking about, Sweetness Lane, or what would be named as Sweetness Lane.
Okay.
And to my knowledge, there's even, I believe, an Old Town spring lot up in there that the A. Johnson Company purchased years ago. You can still see the remnants of the dam.
And it's
Yeah, the
water.
Council dams
And the
are-
road,
That's the old town waterworks.
the old road goes right by that
Sure
dam.
does.
And the way that the angle of the road and everything else, that all that filtered right back down through to Sweetness Lane, Sunwood Lane, and down into the village. And I mean, years ago, all these deeds didn't have explicit deeded right of ways in many of them. And I have a hard time believing that the town accessed that property any other way, along with Tom Bear's old lot and, you know, some of the other accesses, the other lots up in there, yours included. It all came out through there. Those roads have been there for many, many years.
Well, the old, where Sunwood Lane turns and heads south, that's the extension off of Heath Road. That road went all the way through to the other end of the pond.
Into the- Yes,
Mhm.
exactly, and I think, I know Ken Weston had told me that years ago that when they cut back in there and all those properties, it all came out through that, there was an old farm road, which would have been Sunwood Lane.
Okay.
When we bought the land in 79, the section from the sharp corner downhill was a walking path. We had a D7 dozer bust that open into a road.
Well, we used to
And
take.
prior to that, and I had been up there when I was very young, like 18 years old, on horseback. And it was a path that was all, it wasn't a drivable road. When we bought the land in 79, we had to walk up there. But the road, like Peter mentioned, the straight part starts at Heath Road, was the old stage road. And I have seen a map of that. It was never supported by a municipality. So it was never a town road, but it went around the pond, up across Mountain Road, across Moncton Road, up to Hardscrabble, north a ways, and then back across the big swamp by Lanes. And ended up in Heinsberg.
So I can add a little bit in that in 78, I was between 7th and 8th grade when my parents took me up to where the log home is on Sudwood Lane now,
Their property.
their
Lisa's
original property. The only dirt road, logging road that existed at that time came from Heath Road all the way up through. And of course, between the end of Heath Road and where we were building wasn't very good. But literally what Dad said, going up from where, well, the Pylons recently owned it, and the new gentleman's name is Nick, where our old horse barn was, where that was all the way up to the switchback and all the way up to his house. My parents have made that road. That was not a logging road. It was not an anything from where Heffernan's,
Hold on, let her speak.
from where the intersection of Hazel Drive and Sunwood is. I mean, Mr. Curley built that log home. That road was not a road. It was not used for logging. If they used it for logging, they must have come from Heath Road because it literally wasn't a road. It was something that my parents, and I can tell you memories of digging vehicles out of mud holes and them bringing all kinds of gravel in. I have very vivid memories of them making that into a drivable driveway. And we do have a letter that was filed here. I picked it up tonight. That is from 1995, a time when my parents definitely owned the lot.
79.
That states that Tom Bear and Roger Blaze and Tom's wife and a Johnson company entered into a right of way together that went through Roger Blaze's property to access a Johnson and Bear's property. And where the deed for Brendan Coyle states that that's his access, it makes sense. It fits, that he would be off of Hazel Drive.
Hazel Drive ended right there where it turns north until my brother and I bought the property and extended the driveway down through and did those subdivisions.
I understand
So
that.
if it came off of Hazel Drive at that time, it would have been up through there. The other thing is, I'm gonna date myself, but as a
Well, I
kid,
already have.
as a kid, I lived, until 68, I lived on the corner of Hazel Drive and North Street, which is, right about
Yeah.
there. And I can remember, the boys that worked for my father. There was, Dave Bedard, he had a
Oh, 55 student.
Chevy.
And that used to be up in the back of the pond up by the water.
Well, they drove that.
And then it broke down up there and never brought it
Yeah,
back.
they left it there. They used to drive that from the house up through that road to the back of the pond, and then, George
green?
Lucy and,
Was it green?
yeah, it's
I
up
can
there.
show you where it is.
Yeah, it's still there. But they drove that on that road up through, and I can remember riding up through there with them.
Up through there.
Yeah.
Right up through there.
That's not the
I-
way I remember.
I can remember when I graduated in 76, and then we challenged each other with our four-wheel drives, and wanna go to the pond tonight? And we went to the pond, and that hill before the switchback and by the horse barn was some muddy, but we made it all the way through to the pond.
Well, anyway, that we're going back,
Brendan, I'm gonna let,
wait, Brendan wants to speak.
Brendan wants to
He asked
speak.
a couple of minutes ago.
And
so
then I'm
let me-
gonna go
let me- I'm
mute,
gonna,
Kenny.
I'm gonna unmute you, Brendan.
Phil, you had a
Hopefully you can
question?
access that on your phone. There we go.
Go ahead, Brendan.
Good evening.
So just off of those remarks from Dave Cobb buying the property in 79 and putting the road in with a D7 dozer, I'm curious how that would have happened when I have a survey from 1976 that has the road going through from North Street all the way through the Williamson property, which got taken by Blanchard, which is also recorded in a survey of Cobb and Williamson's in 2018, clearly states that there's a right of way servicing Coffin, Bear, and others. But I also have a survey from 1976 that shows the road going on to my property and back to Johnson's. So there's numerous surveys that have been recorded by numerous licensed engineers in the state that are recorded in the town records stating that this is a right of way.
Well, it's on the drawing that says access to that property. That's not a legally binding right of way, and your right of way is very clearly on your deed, if you've ever read your deed.
Yeah, it's on my survey as well.
No, it's on the survey is not a legal binding document.
I have a deed.
Talk to Ronald Rose about that.
I have a deed and a survey, as well as you do, Mr. Cobb, stating that the right of way is through your property.
Bill's got a copy of your deed.
Yeah, I'm reading
Okay, I don't think,
I
while
don't
this,
think we're gonna-
while this is an interesting discussion, I think it's the
venue.
wrong venue. It's, this has to come before coming to us.
I'd like to say one thing if I could. This-
Sure.
This highlights.
Thank you, Brendan.
Very well, one of the idiosyncrasies about our industry is we'll go in and log. And then we might not go in for 20 or 30 years.
Right.
And people become complacent and feel like they own the road because we haven't used it. It's just that our need to use it hasn't arisen. We're doing our job, managing the land well. And then when the time arises, tempers can flare.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, I don't think we can name it, honestly, at this point. I think if we're gonna do something, it's an E91, either from Sunwood Lane or from Hazel Drive, whatever the deeded right of way is, and somebody else has to fight that out and figure that out for AZ. Cause you can't just say, I'm giving you an E991 if they're not E911, if they don't really have a deeded right of way.
Well, a lot of information has been provided to AZ certifying or verifying that some form of access exists to the property. And my recommendation was to be guided by what's in the zoning permit. And what the data, the information that we received, that the permit was based upon, that's what we have.
But if the information in the permit is incorrect, then that's a problem.
That's not, that we cannot judge the accuracy of all the information we receive for all the applications. If that's the applicants certify that what they provided is accurate, and we have to, we can't, we don't have the resources, the capability to challenge that.
But we also have multiple people here tonight who are disputing and giving conflicting information, and we don't have the authority to make that decision.
I wouldn't use the word conflicting, but they're giving the information that they believe is correct.
Which is conflicting with what they have,
Conflicting with-
right, so it's
Not whether it's
conflicting,
right or
not
wrong.
that it's right, wrong, right.
And I think, I believe, part of the problem is that they're basing their evidence on, they have a right of way off from Hazel Drive. And I believe they all think that now Hazel Drive got extended from here down to here, but when they first had these deeds, it was from here up to here, the old log road that leaded to the pond there.
Sounds like what you're really talking about is E911, they need to find a house.
Yeah.
Right. So in the short term, I would recommend, because an E911 address can be changed later. It's inconvenient.
So
it's
it should
cumbersome.
be off of Sunwood.
That would be my recommendation, because that's the information that was acted upon to allow the house to be built.
At this time, I would like to voice a strong opinion that Mr. Coyle does not have a right of way through my property. And LaRose just finished a survey for my parents, and there was no right of way found through his property. And so we strongly oppose.
Through your parents' property.
Excuse me, my parents' property. Right, so both the original Williamson and the Cobb properties, I'm right now working, hopefully, because he hasn't returned my message today when I messaged him, with Kevin LaRose to have a full survey done of our property as well, just to reiterate what was found. And make sure that, what was it, Spencer Harris, he did a survey quite a long time ago with Mr. Williamson, that we can't seem to find. So Kevin LaRose is working on redoing things so that my husband and I are very clear and understand very clearly what the possibilities of. If you choose to name this road that goes through my property, we do not approve of the term Sweetness Lane, just putting it out there. But if you're going to give them a 911 address, I humbly request that you do so off of Hazel Drive.
That's on the deed, this deed.
Or Bristol Pond Road, because if you follow it, that's where he is.
So if the question of naming a road is off the table in general, then the select board also has no role in E911 address assignments.
Nothing to do
It's
with it,
really
right?
an administrative
This
exercise,
is an administrative,
Mhm.
right?
and this is a court battle that's not gonna be decided here.
So, yeah,
Right, and I would say
The deed's
AZ,
clear, so there's no battle.
I would say AZ
Clear.
doesn't have enough information to be able to do an E911 address at this time. I think there are too many complications regardless of what the permit says.
Mhm. I think she may have
And
to,
issuing a zoning permit, are the adjoining properties normally notified?
for a single family residence,
Yeah.
that's not the process. The permit was posted
I was
within,
told the permit was posted, but then we couldn't see it until just recently. And this parcel is in the absolute middle of the woods. So anybody that expects me to walk my boundaries
Yes.
on a regular basis just to see a permit that's posted in a way that I can't really see it
Yeah.
that well, maybe something needs to be done
And we.
to address that problem.
Yes, so that has been discussed in previous meetings with regard to that, and the planning commission will be looking at that. And part of that, permits are available at the town office. You can come in and request them. But most people are used to seeing a posted one, and there has been a discussion about making it much more accessible. Because I think regardless if it's in the middle of the woods or if it's just walking up a sidewalk or some front steps to a house, often people don't want to do that, even if they can see it, but maybe not read it. So we do understand that and recognize that, and it's something that the planning commission is going to sort of work through in the
As
next
a property
next
owner, I
iteration.
appreciate that, because I got, the first notice that I had that he even had a building permit was the wastewater treatment that's impinging on my property so that I can't put my water well in a particular place, which isn't a big deal, because I don't intend to build there, but that was the first time that I had heard that he even had a permit.
But it is a buildable.
But he wouldn't have, he would have had to have that before he got a building permit.
you would have the wastewater permit.
So
No.
Right.
You can get built, I believe.
you have to have a wastewater permit before you can get a building permit.
Yes, you're right, Chris.
So, I mean, so,
You would have gotten notified of that one.
yeah, you got notified of
That was
that, but then you would have had to do your due diligence to know that the building permit.
Right.
It was,
I'm wondering if it makes
It's,
sense to have
how do we
Lucy
know?
talk
for
to
those of us
Kevin
that
or
aren't doing
somebody,
that, that
because
haven't done that.
I don't wanna
we
get
have
us
a clue.
in a pissing match.
And I probably wouldn't if I
the town
didn't.
should be
if I didn't
involved
do
in
it
all
fast.
this.
But we
I'm gonna-
will be if we give them E911 and they
So
don't.
we're
really
not going
have
to,
rights.
So we're not gonna name this road tonight.
No.
No.
And, you know,
What do they say in town meeting? Call the question.
Yes, there you go. Thank you for everybody for coming in.
Yes, thank
Response.
Thank you, Brendan.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking the time.
Some of you guys are gonna have to all work out. There's building lots there, and he thinks he has a, yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Thank you. But I do remember, Chris, many years, we've got our truck stuck on that hill going to that,
I
and
remember
then
you
all the way to the
dumping
pond. If you could get past the water dam, you were into the pond, then you could go down the hill. Cause there used to be a gate at the other end, Ray Johnson, so we couldn't go that way, so we wanted to go to the pond and fish that night, we went back.
When we bought the land in 79, there was a green Chevy.
I took you through big, but ours old blue boat,
At the corner.
Yep.
And there, well, there's still a big blue.
before you went down in the pond.
Okay, let's move on.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you
Okay,
very much.
Good night, everybody.
Consider acceptance of quotes from Burl Hill Nursery for tree planting from Josh. I won't even.
Bonac.
Bonac. We saw those things in,
Yep.
Come on up, Josh.
Josh, come on up. Sorry, you had to go. It's a lot on that. I don't think that's unreasonable. Tree, you do that by 30 trees.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, thanks for,
That's it.
Go ahead.
should I talk?
Yep.
Go ahead, Josh. I'm gonna put it on the screen.
Put it up.
Thanks for putting up with me again. I told you last year I'd be back.
Yeah,
I know.
like to
So
see
we're
the
back.
trees. Yep. It's gonna be good.
Wrong thing.
This year we
No.
got a $50,000 grant
Mhm.
for trees.
Mhm.
About 3/4 of it has been to plant trees. And the rest of it is going to removing hazardous trees and pruning, which
I drove-
started recently.
I drove around one on Meadow Lane the other day, yesterday. That great big popper.
Yeah.
You know, we paved right around it.
Yeah, so this grant's pretty cool too, because there's no match requirement.
Mhm.
So it's basically just
We like those.
$50,000. We have 3 years to spend it, so
Mhm.
we're in the middle of the first year, so.
End of June of 2026, June 30th, 2026.
Yes.
I'm sure you'll figure out how to spend it all.
This is the tree grant that Frida said we're also eligible to apply again.
Yes.
But it,
And-
because we already have this, we obviously won't be considered as high as other employees, depending on
It
our
depends.
story.
Yeah, it depends.
Okay.
It also shows our commitment.
That's
So let
true.
me ask Josh, the ones that you're picking out here, this is to plant now, not replace trees, or is this gonna be replacing some trees that are getting taken down?
It's mainly to plant new trees.
Okay.
Yeah, there are a couple spots, we probably won't be able, the goal is to plant this fall. So we're trying to get them in before the ground freezes. The trees that just got removed, I don't think they're gonna be able to stump grind them soon enough.
Okay.
So,
Can
if
you-
there,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
now, if there was room, adjacent to them, then that would be a higher priority. But I'll be back in the spring asking for more approval.
How are the trees that were planted last year? How are they doing?
Anecdotally, really well. I haven't done a formal
Yeah.
survey of them.
Will you do a formal survey?
I don't know.
Is there any?
I don't
Only
wanna
if we
lie.
see something dying.
I mean, there was a lot. How many did you plant?
So,
How many?
yeah, we did 22.
Right,
last
so it's a
year.
lot.
One of the things we did in the grant this year was we got $1,500 for the public works to get a watering
Yeah.
rig set
Right,
up.
yep.
Because that's the main concern,
Yeah.
always, is
How to
just
water.
watering for the first
Mhm.
couple of years.
Mhm.
And I'm sure
Mo-
some people are doing it themselves.
Yes,
Property
most
owners.
people, everybody that we planted last year, agreed to wanting a tree
Yeah.
and committed to watering it.
Okay.
Of course, after they were installed, I had a couple people call and say, my hose isn't long enough, what do I do? So.
Get a watering,
Get
get a watering
Get a bucket.
can.
Hardware store just down the street.
A couple people are strong enough to carry buckets. I mean, there's,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, so that brought about the need to
Get a
get our
watering.
own
Which is great.
solution, for that. So, yeah, so I was hoping to get 25 in, but with the way the pricing came in, I think we can get 30 in.
Right.
I'm asking, that's the budget we need for sure, 13,755, which will all be reimbursed for the grant.
Yeah.
But I was hoping to get a little bit of extra just in case. I was wanting 15,000 just in case some of these trees aren't currently available
Yeah.
anymore, and a
Mhm.
couple more.
You gotta get more.
Okay, I have a quick question. I mean, some of these trees, I don't even know if I know them, but I thought we didn't want to put sugar maples up.
Say again?
I thought we didn't want to plant sugar maples around town. Was it not sugar maples?
No, sugar maples was, I mean, there's talk about that. I don't know if John Swepston, he wasn't recommending them or someone else
Okay.
wasn't recommending them. There was some reason.
There was a reason,
I
and
know.
whether it had to do with the roots, because they weren't good with the salt in that?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, sugar
Mhm.
maples do not like it when you put heavy salt on them.
Yeah.
So part of our strategy also is, this is also available to, park areas.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
So you may.
And it's only one.
In the
Right,
park.
yeah, I know that. I had no idea where they were going,
And part
so I
of
just had
what-
to ask.
Eric had asked for this year was to try to get bigger trees
Okay.
than that one, so that's one of the bigger ones available.
Okay.
So, yeah,
Back to
but
Ian's
we
question.
wouldn't put it on like a street corner.
Okay.
Yeah.
To Ian's question about the 22 that you planted, do we come, is there some kind of don't say guarantee, I hate to use the word guarantee, but yeah, guarantee that,
A
you know,
warranty.
a warranty if these are, this time next year, they're dead? Is there any?
Yeah, so these last year's, we decided, because he was gonna charge us $100 per tree for a warranty.
Right.
We decided it wasn't worth it, we'll just.
Buy another one if we have to.
Right,
Yeah.
this year, these do include a 1-year warranty, as long, included in the price, as long as they're watered.
Mhm.
So if they die of not
Lack of watering.
Yeah.
that's not that fault, so.
Okay. I'd make a motion to accept the proposal and increase the amount to 15,000.
I'll second.
And these funds are coming out of the grant that we got, 50,000.
Yeah, reimbursement grant.
Okay, just, sorry.
You're spewing.
Just eating your apple.
We have a motion and a second.
Motion and a second for $15,000. From Ian and Michelle. Any more discussion? Jessica, are you still with us?
She says, I'm feeling worse, gonna log out, but voting yes for the trees.
Okay.
Trees, oh,
I didn't realize, is she not feeling well?
I guess not.
All those in favor of this motion, or Peter, you got any questions?
You're
I'm sorry.
just talking about the trees we're
Right.
planting and the ones in yellow, 30 in yellow are the ones you selected.
Correct.
The ones under selected with the numbers.
Yeah.
So all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Staying? Okay.
Great.
Tell
Go
Jessica
ahead.
to come in
Get 'em
at
in.
8
Thank you,
o'clock,
guys.
getting
Thanks for all your
8 o'clock
work.
rather than 9.
All right. Thank you so much. And
Thanks, Josh.
we'll see you in another year.
Yeah.
You'll see me in like May.
Accept the resignation of firefighter Eric McDonald.
So moved
With
Second.
regret.
with regret.
Regrets, yeah. Is there a second?
Yeah, Ian second.
Okay, sorry, Ian and you. All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
We have no meeting,
no meeting minutes,
no
No
accounts
accounts
payable.
payable.
no accounts payable, any liquor or tobacco either? No?
Nope.
Chris didn't bring any in back. Select board roundtable, Jessica's not on. Ian, we'll start with you.
I've been working on the emergency.
Ew, spit that
Let
out.
me start again. The emergency management position. Val stated that he had recommended that be removed from your, the TA's job position. And so I've been speaking with a member, a resident of Bristol, who might be interested in taking over that position. And I'm gonna bring this to the table, probably maybe a next meeting. Just, we need to discuss how we want to handle that. Is it a volunteer position? Do we put it out to the public like we have with other jobs? Do we create a stipend position similar to the health officer or the higher level firefighter roles that we have? But I think we need to do that sooner rather than later, because once our TA retires, which is at the end of December, it becomes the select board chair's responsibility for the emergency management director.
I'm only telling you now, I don't want to be the chair in March.
Well, with.
We're already the,
You can delegate.
because we don't have a health officer
If
yet,
you're-
right?
We
We
do.
do, that's right. we do.
Yeah.
We have the assistant. and the-
We have the
Yeah,
deputy
They're
who's
both,
learning
they're both
from-
still
Yeah.
there.
So yeah, I've been working just in terms of, I asked VLCT in terms of the information, and they sent me to Andrew LaRoe, who gave some detail about how most towns handle that position. A lot of towns are town managers, administrators, some are volunteer. Police chief Middlebury is the EMD director there. And so, we have
I'm
a
pretty
choice.
sure Bruce doesn't want that.
No, I don't think
attitude.
Bruce wants it. I spoke with Harry Shopman, if I'm pronouncing that right, today. And he's part of the Vermont Emergency Management. And so obviously state statute, he sent me job description and job guidelines. And then essentially the EMD role update plan every year, involve key public safety players in the town, fire, police, ambulance. In terms of discussions, you have quarterly meetings, which Val has been attending. And then obviously their main involvement is in the response phase to a particular emergency that's happened. And then obviously we step in and we're more involved in the recovery phase, which we have been doing for various projects with FEMA meetings, things like that. So
And that's part of the EMD is to deal with FEMA and that, or is that?
no, that becomes our, well, it has been. It's our-
Administrative.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so that's grant administrator, town administrator. Eric.
Documentation of
Yeah.
damage.
Maybe before you bring it back to the next meeting, maybe you could send this, what you got from the.
Sure.
to all. of
Yeah,
us.
and I'll send the job description so we can all look through that. But I think my recommendation would be to make it a stipend
I
position.
would totally agree.
And then we figure out what amount that might be. And then
Stipend with an hourly if it goes.
I guess so, yeah, we try to figure out
Yeah.
what you want,
Got a
because it
week's
depending
worth
on the
of
response.
emergency
Yes,
or
exactly. And so, and Harry's gonna be involved. They're hiring 3 more people, so the amount of towns that he's looking after or connected to is gonna shrink, which is good. Because I think it seems like they have very few people who are actually doing all this. And he's gonna be visiting. And so in December, he might be here. And so maybe if we have someone, my question would be if we need to put it out to everyone, or if we had an interested party, could we interview that party ourselves? I'm not sure about what that protocol might be about. You probably have more
There's
information
no
about that.
real policy that I'm aware of. It's,
Okay.
The select can hire from within if you want to.
Okay.
I think it depends on the position, really.
Okay, all right, so yeah, I'm happy to send that around.
Okay.
But that's what I'm working on.
My guess is if you do advertise it, people are not gonna be beating down the door.
Right. Yeah.
Already, Michelle.
I'm
But
sure we'll talk-
Michelle's gonna, because she doesn't wanna be chair, so
Right.
she's just gonna be emergency.
Right,
Oh, okay.
And we'll
She's
probably-
looking at that stipend.
And we'll probably talk about this more when this is on an agenda item, but in terms of a stipend and comparing it to other positions like the health officer, town health officer is very intermittent. It's unpredictable. The
Right.
demands on the town
Yeah.
health officer are uncertain. There might be a year or two when nothing happens, and there might be a year or
Right.
two when it's pretty active.
Right now, anyway.
The emergency management director is pretty active.
Yeah,
Constant.
and that's why I sort of
Training
thought
and a
about
lot of stuff, a lot.
Yeah.
So, that just.
And we,
needs to be
the beauty of it is we've got 2 of our own that are tied to Vermont Emergency Management that
Right.
can help us.
Mhm.
That I'm sure will help us when we need help to.
But
Right.
here again, wouldn't, by no means, they could do the job, but I don't think they should be ours, because if we are in a state of emergency,
Oh, yeah.
they're in Waterbury.
Right.
Yeah.
Right,
And-
no, and Harry
No,
said
he's
very
not saying
specifically, it does not want to be your fire chief
Yeah.
who does this job, and he knows, obviously, Brett is here.
Mhm.
And Brett and Eric will
Yeah.
not be available for
Right.
Bristol, so.
But I'm sure there would be more than willing to help guide us through. this.
Oh, yeah, and I've spoken to Brett, who gave me Harry's information. Yeah, and that's why I sort of mentioned the stipend related to the fire chief and assistant chief or deputy, just in terms of that, looking at that too.
Yeah.
Not just the health officer, since those amounts obviously are different. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Anything else?
No, that'll be it.
Michelle?
I had something in my brain and.
I can come back.
I mean, I know, I did ask about the no overnight camping on the
Mhm.
parks. Is that a Meredith thing?
Meredith, right?
Who was it? Let's see, was it Bruce that said we would put up a sign?
Bruce said we need to put up signs, is
Yeah,
what he
yeah,
said.
yeah.
So I was gonna get in touch with Meredith, but I
Yeah.
wasn't sure if she was the right person,
Yeah,
because she's in charge of
she's
the
in charge.
parks.
Public Works,
Mhm.
Eric.
Well,
Okay.
if Meredith
Yeah.
needs signs, she'll get a hold of Eric. to
Yeah.
put 'em up.
Right.
Okay, I'll talk to Meredith.
Yeah, I think,
But it's a
yeah.
Meredith, parks are. a
And
Meredith.
Aiden does know about it because he's been aware, as he's traveled around and cleaning up various places he mentioned Memorial Park to me, so there seem to be people up there too, or have been. And
Yeah,
so
I mean,
think the rec department is fully aware of.
my one concern is we talked about saying by permit only, but my part of that is we should just say no,
No.
because if you,
No.
how would you say, no, you don't get a permit, but this one.
Well, then
does,
at
so I
least
think
we'd
we
know
just-
who was there.
We don't want anybody really
Well,
camping there.
we allow.
We allow the Boy Scouts.
Right, but again, it was like, that was Bruce had said,
And it's through, we allow stuff through the.
that's
rec.
right, with permission from them.
Mhm.
I remember Aiden, when I talked to him just recently, he mentioned Memorial just in terms of having more signage and ability to close that off, since it is closed off, like people still try to use it even though it's pretty dangerous up there. And so he would like to see some signage go up there, so maybe that's something that could be combined if we're
Yeah, or
actually
like we
making
do
signs.
town activities only or something like that.
Or,
Town
yeah.
sponsored activities.
Authorized only.
Right.
Authorized.
Yeah, since it's not.
Something, but I don't want it by permit only, because
Yeah.
then you have to have
No,
some
it
kind
would
of
be, but it
requirements
might
by
be
saying.
just closed,
Mhm.
until further notice in terms of that.
For
particular-
Memorial Park.
Right.
For Memorial
yes.
Park, right. I was just talking about like.
Oh, I
We're-
see.
Sycamore
we're-
Park
Two
or
different,
some-
two
where there
two
was
different
a-
conversations
Right.
going here.
Yeah,
But I think
But I'm
both,
keeping track.
but both can be done by the rec department.
Yeah,
I think
okay,
that would
I'll
be under their
talk to
purview.
Meredith.
Yeah.
Anything else? Anything else in your head?
No, there was something else, but that's okay.
You
I'll,
come-
I write them down and then I forget the paper I wrote them down on, so.
Peter?
I have something quick for executive session if we're doing executive session, so.
We can do that.
Okay. All right, I talked with Jill after Monday night's meeting with, an hour there with, the girl from Nemrick. And Darlene, and about whether we're $129,000 in debt into the water project, as she stated, or not. And so she asked me to, and I asked Sharon for, after, I said, sometime in December, if you can give us the last 4 budgets and what we finished the year out with versus what we, we started with money. And then the 91,000 we got for the water inventory.
The grant.
The grant, has that grant come to the town yet?
Parts of it have, about half. That part, we need to requisition for it. And
Okay.
and
There's a
we're-
reimbursement.
and we're teeing it up, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And,
We're very close.
the requisition we got for Steve Palmer to do what he's been doing. We put in a requisition for that. Has that been put in yet? Or we put in for a grant for that?
For the West Street,
West Phase
or the
2.
West Phase 2, or you're talking about?
Yeah, not so much.
That
Pine
is,
Street.
we need a loan for that. And we
That's
have
the-
not applied for the loan yet for the phase 2 design.
Have we paid him?
Yeah, we've been paying him.
Okay, so there's some of that money.
Right, and, but didn't we get some of that forgiveness from the grant, if we're gonna get a grant for doing the study? or
For the Phase 2?
Phase 2?
No, that's not part, yeah, we haven't done that yet.
Phase 2 is the
Phase
bond
2.
vote.
Phase
That's what we're
2 is
working
the
on.
design that we're in now. The
Right.
bond vote is construction.
Right, the bond
Oh,
vote's
it's not the-
construction.
It's not the
Right.
engineering.
And-
Okay.
And if you recall, with Pine Street,
They nixed some of the stuff.
well.
They did.
With the Pine, we submitted the loan application for the design 2, or phase 2, in June of 2022. And they never acted on the application. For almost 2 years.
2 years, right.
And meanwhile, that was all paid out. And then when it went to construction, it was rolled into the phase 3 loan.
So when you said in June of
But they
2022.
did forgive 50% of it. So a 37,000, the 37,000 for the phase 2 design was forgiven. So 18,000 was rolled into the construction loan
So.
For Pine Street.
for Pine Street.
So have we received that as the?
No, we haven't applied yet for the, we're not authorized to apply yet for that loan. We're in the process of it.
No, the one you said.
For Pine Street?
For
Pine
Pine Street.
Street's all done. Pine Street's
So we
all done.
got paid for that.
It's all
Correct.
done.
We got 2 payments
Yeah,
for that.
from the bank.
But it wasn't the full amount.
Correct.
There is about 50,000 or so
Right, they
difference
disallowed.
that they
that.
weren't gonna pay for, which we need to pay
Yeah,
for.
Yeah.
okay. I just want to make sure the things they tell us, like the 91,000.
Yeah, sure can do those pencils.
The 91,000, did we even, okay, you told us way back when in 11,
Yeah.
you've been
We
appropriated
will, we'll get
91,000.
that. We're very close.
Okay,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
we just haven't asked for it all yet.
Correct.
Al-
Because we
Almost,
paid it all out to her.
Not all, not yet. It's not done.
Pretty
Most, it's close.
Yeah, she said she's pretty close to being.
Pretty
used up
close,
all the
yeah.
money.
almost all of the grants that we get are reimbursement. So essentially, we're paying up front and then we're requisitioning. So it's always gonna be.
Just like we did with the landfill, they promised us 200,000 and
Yeah.
then when we requisitioned, they gave us 180.
Yeah, but it's the same thing, like I thought the same thing, oh, it's a grant, great, have we got that grant yet? But really, we're paying the money out for almost 99% of the grants we
Yeah.
get.
Mhm.
Right.
And then we're
Well,
asking
that's
for
where
it.
that
So that's where
129
really,
starts
yeah.
chipping away, and it's really
Right.
not, so.
And I think that grant was before Frida, I believe,
Mhm.
and so now that we have her,
Mhm.
she's on top of every single grant
Okay.
that we get and knows exactly if it's a reimbursement or if it's, I mean, the rare one that we get,
Mhm.
that we actually get ahead of time.
Right.
How many do we actually get that are really ahead of time?
Not very many.
Because
The only 2 that we've gotten were for the equity trainings,
Mhm.
and that was from the Vermont Community
Oh, yeah.
Foundation, and they cut us a check for $10,000. Here you go. Tell us how you spent it.
Let's get more of those.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not,
Really?
that can't pay for a water project. So
Yeah.
quick question on that.
Wait a
Sorry to
minute,
jump in.
so, I just lost my train of thought, guys, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, for the engineering for phase 2, is that a separate grant
It's a loan.
than, so it's a loan, but it's separate from the loan that we're gonna be using for construction? If there are two different
If it
loans?
doesn't go to construction, it's conceivable, I believe it might be 100% forgiven. If it doesn't go to construction.
Well,
it
that doesn't
sense.
make any
That
sense.
doesn't make any
Why,
sense.
why wouldn't they penalize you for not going?
Not going to
So, but they're two
Right.
different loans. We have our bond vote is essentially
The
our
construction.
loan for the construction,
Step 3,
which
yeah.
fingers crossed, we
Yeah.
got our 50%. But the engineering is a separate loan.
Separate loan,
Is it
phase
through
2.
the
Same.
DWSRF?
Same thing. yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so just a
And
separate loan.
that was the part where they gave us the 50%, but disallowed some of the.
So
some of
the last question, I just got my train of thought back. The last question Jill asked me was, because we started New Year, July 1, and we just barely sent water bills out last week, or maybe this week, I don't know, maybe they went out. But she said they've read, and they're ready to go. And we take in around $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 every quarter on reads.
Yeah.
So that will part of that 129. That's the question we had. Because were we 129,000 as of June 30th, or as of when?
As of when that was printed.
When that was printed, like in middle of October?
Yes.
Okay, so that was part of the, yeah, it doesn't look quite so bad to me. I was pretty nervous.
Yeah.
And when I saw
And
100.
rightfully so.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm going,
I'm still confused about that 176 or 179,000 that's due
Yes.
to.
And we have the others that are projects that are completed that have debt.
Yeah.
right, the
associated
Lawson
with it,
Lane.
too. Yes, well,
The-
yeah, the Lawson Lane is on my radar, as well as the West Street slope as well.
That, and also, there's West Pleasant Street, water line was $3,400 from the curb stop in through to the house. It's supposed to have been built privately. I won't mention that name, but
I thought that was taken care of. We can look at
I don't believe so.
Okay.
And then I asked for,
Jill,
the-
I thought we told Jill she had to.
From here on out, yeah.
and then I asked for, maybe she didn't build it. That's why I haven't seen it in the pay orders. I asked Sharon for it. She says, I haven't seen it yet. Was the Garfield one the end of July, that repair? And I haven't seen that one from the curb stop to the house yet. So maybe that one did get, I haven't seen any of that Garfield bill through VTOMs from the main to the curb stop yet.
Well, the main to the curb stop could have been general.
It could have been, but usually, yeah.
Okay.
So, okay, that's all I had. So Valerie, you're
Uh,
administrator.
Busy week today, and last week was quite busy, partly with one of the agenda items that was on tonight. It took up a lot of time. I talked with Eric earlier, and he reported that this is the last week of their 4 10-hour days. And so next week, they start the regular 8-hour days. And tomorrow, they're going to begin shouldering Lincoln Road.
They put out the salt on Main Street, which looks great. Thank you very much.
Put up the what?
Salt barrels.
Oh, no, I
Sorry,
noticed
I-
that.
speaking of-
Already?
Speaking of Lincoln
Throwing it
Road-
down.
Pre-salt.
Sorry.
That's right.
Speaking of Lincoln Road, there was somebody on Front Porch Forum,
I saw that litter.
Complaining about
the litter,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, I saw that. Oh. What was the other, signage. Speaking of signage, I also talked with Eric about the fishing platform. And that pretty soon we're gonna need to take the railings down.
Yeah.
And so he's going to put an order in for 2 signs at least that say facility closed, do not enter, or something like that. I forget what word. he came
Danger.
up with.
Closed
Yeah.
until further notice.
Well,
Something like
closed for the
No,
season or
Closed for the
something.
season,
Don't put
no,
danger
no
on it.
access or something like
Yeah.
that.
Very
So
dangerous.
One for the.
That just asks for
posts
liability.
At the path entrance, and then
Yeah.
one at the platform itself, because Randy installed 2 posts at the platform, which was terrific, that we will be able to.
Attach a
put-
sign too.
Yeah, and the railings.
Mhm.
So when the railings are attached to those 2 posts at the platform,
They can't. get
that'll
through.
be an additional barrier. To keep.
They'd have to climb over it to
Right.
get onto the platform.
You can't
We want
walk
them
onto
that
the
close.
platform
They're not
deliberately.
worried, that's where we're storing them, is on the,
Yeah, that's an option.
okay, because I don't think we want anything there. I think we want the water and trees and ice to be able to just.
Lay right over the top.
Well, if they are stored there, they'd be parallel to the river.
I would just hit
Still
them right out of
something to
there.
catch.
Yeah.
Like, well, we'll see. We're gonna try to do a dry run to see how it's going to work. And Randy said that it's pretty straightforward to see how they come out and go back in, and that
Okay.
they have to go in a very specific way, and it'll be evident when we.
I mean, if we didn't store them there, I think it'd be easy enough to have the sign created and just do a chain
Yeah,
across the two
yeah,
posts.
Yeah.
And that-
So you're gonna have the two posts at the edge of the river and then on the edge of the platform?
No.
There
other
are
way,
there are two
towards the
posts there.
sidewalk.
Well, there's two posts at the beginning of the pathway entrance.
Yeah.
And there's two posts at the platform.
I want them at the beginning of the platform,
Well,
so not even near the beginning of the walkway.
yeah, so that's an option.
And not, that
But
way,
the signs will go.
everything can go right over the top
Yeah.
of that platform.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Fine.
Anything else?
So that's it for now, just an update on my schedule. I will be completely out of the office tomorrow. I'll be out and about, and
You don't want to be here anyway, it's voting day.
no, I physically can't. And then Friday, I thought I would be in the office, but it turns out I'll be working from home on Friday.
Okay. All right, and you hit a deer, I saw, you said in your, totaled your car?
Totaled the car.
I almost hit a bear.
Wow. And this one, I was just past Quaker Street, right across from Black Bear Run, and this thing just came shooting out of the field. There was no time to react, and it just
Is this your new
ricocheted
car?
off and down into the ditch, and I didn't think it was small. I didn't think it was that big a deal, but it turned out to be.
Is that your new car?
Yeah,
Your new
It was my husband's toy car. The convertible.
They
make 'em every day.
When he gets his new toy, you won't be allowed to
get hurt.
No, we're one car family now, so,
I hit a black lab right there. I was going up through and I see this rabbit go across the road at 100 miles an hour, and I come onto the brakes and a dog right behind it, and I rolled that dog, and the dog rolled. I hit the dog rolled and
Kept right on going.
kept right on going.
Oh, wow.
I
Might
mean,
not
I
have made it
figured,
later on, but,
I figured the dog had it, but.
well, the bear I almost hit was last Thursday. I was coming back into Bristol, right by Squirrel's Nest. And it was dark, but all I saw out of the corner of my eye was something moving. And it's a good thing I caught him, because I laid on my brakes and he went right in front of me. It was like,
well, on the subject, though, I just wanna give a shout out to Tony Porter, who was there. I turned around and I pulled over because I wanted to see if the deer was still alive. I didn't want it to suffer.
Right.
And it wasn't alive, but he was right there, coincidentally.
Was he
and
behind you or something? Or
He
had
was,
come
he
back?
was coming off the field across the road from from mowing. And I flagged him over, and he confirmed that the deer was dispatched. And he went down to where I pulled over to check the damage. And this was almost dark. And I couldn't imagine that there's that much damage. I wasn't going very fast, and it just wasn't. It's a small deer. And he alerted me that, well, we should check your radiator to make sure it wasn't leaking. Well, it was. And
Okay, you didn't
so
go up on the mountain.
I know. And that never would have occurred to me. And so he helped me get to the Jerusalem Corners, the old schoolhouse.
Right.
Yeah.
And where there's Wi-Fi, and I was able to call AAA. And so he helped get me there.
Well,
And
good
he
for
was
him.
really, really helpful. And I'm so grateful, because
He's a
otherwise,
good guy.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
yeah,
Okay.
he went out of his way to help me, and I really appreciate it.
Anything else for your report?
That's enough.
Okay. Any correspondence reports to receive?
Let's see, what did I draw attention? So, you can see from the list that, where is it? Out of business, that the ceremony at the park, the veterans recognition is going to be this weekend. And that does not require select board approval, because that public is under the threshold.
Right.
So no, there's really nothing. It's all just FYIs.
Okay. So we make a motion? Is personnel?
Your personnel, yeah.
I make a motion, we enter executive session per one VSA section 313 to discuss personnel matters.
Second.
Okay,
Good night, Jimmy.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we're in executive session.
Okay.